All right, 1 2 1 2 in the place to be. What's up, y'all? How y'all feel out there? We are live and direct for another edition of the In the Dungeon Show. How you doing out there? My name is Frank Red, and it is a pleasure and an honor to engage in conversation with you about what's happening in the world of sports and to identify those intersections between sports, life, entertainment, whatever is on our minds. As long as there's a connection and it makes sense, then we are open and ready to talk about it. So thank you. I'm sitting here thinking about the start of the show. We're starting a little bit late and from our normal time. That doesn't really matter to people who listen to the show. God knows when. Maybe tomorrow, maybe later tonight, maybe next week, maybe next year. I don't know. But credibility is really, really important to me. And the listeners are really, really important to me. The viewers are really important to me. I remember when I was just starting to become a fan of hip hop music. And one of the all-time greats, Rakim, the 18th letter, the R. On his second album, he had a song called This Is For the Listeners. And he detailed so eloquently why hip hop was important to him. And I feel the same way about you. I've been doing this a long time. And, in a time in which content creators, including myself, want to get our messages out and touch as many people as we possibly can. There's levels to this. If you watch a video and they're talking about, well, how do you grow your channel? Well, here are the list of topics that people are talking about and all this other crap. But you're an expert at none of them. I'd rather take the slow build. I'd rather one by one, voice by voice, build an audience that's based on credibility. Because at the end of the day, that's what's really important, right? So I want you to know that you matter. Further context, today, I got up early in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, and I took a 5-hour flight back out to the West Coast. So didn't get opportunity to sleep much. Finally, when I got home, I slept for about 4 hours, man. It was awesome. And thank God I had done a lot of prep work midweek. And I did a couple hours today leading up to this show. So I am ready to go. But to give you that context, somebody might say, well, you know what, Red, take a week off. I love this, man. This is what I do, And one of the things I know about building an audience is that people expect you to be where you say you're going to be at that particular time in that particular day. And so that's why I'm here. With that said, I love putting together an excellent show. I love to do that. Some people like talking. Some people love engaging with listeners and viewers. And I like all of that. But what I like just as much is the research. The meticulous nature of doubling back and looking at those details and getting them right. And doing that, you're not always going to get everything right. But I do a really thorough job of making sure that, by and large, I know what I'm talking about. With that said, I did some research a couple of days ago, and I've been talking about how James Wiseman might have an opportunity with the Indiana Pacers, who signed him last year, and then he unfortunately ruptured his Achilles, right? He's not going to be on Indiana next year. They traded him in a deal with Toronto earlier this year, and they ultimately cut him. So he's a free agent. I think that his chances of being an NBA player just got a lot tougher because there's no investment in him at this point. I'm rooting for the young man, but who's to say that he will ever play in the NBA again? We don't know. We know he'll get an opportunity for the G League if that's what he wants to do. Um, and we'll see what happens. But I think he has the innate talent. But does he have the will? Does he have the heart? Does he have the fortitude to move forward? Or is he just saying, you know what? I've made about 20, 25 million already. I got a nice house. You know, I can take care of my family. It's a wrap. That's what I love about players like Draymond Green, about people like Draymond Green. I'm not talking about Draymond in totality. I'm talking about a guy who really, really respects what it means to have work ethic, what it means to have discipline in some aspects of his life. Not all. None of us are totally disciplined in all aspects of our life, but I respect Draymond Green because this guy's about his business. He's about his work. And we're going to find out whether or not Wiseman is about his. Now, as I said, I did some work midweek, and I prepared for NBA free agency. So if you have any questions regarding NBA free agency, feel free to put them in the chat and we can talk about it because I think I'm up to date on most things. This is a wonderful time of the sports season because there's so many different variables happening. The NFL literally is 1 week away. Rookies report on the 15th. The NBA Summer League is about to start. The WNBA is in full swing. We're going to talk about that. The Golden State Warrior fans, how you feeling right now? Because things are not going beautifully at this particular time. It's not. But it's not a train wreck either. There's still some work to do. I got some ideas about that I'll introduce in a couple of minutes after I acknowledge some of the people who are on the board. My name is Frank Red. If you're listening for the first time, please hit the like button. It helps me. It helps the show. Subscribe to the station, to the channel, excuse me. We're on a march to get 1,000 subscribers. And we're a long way from that, but I'm not going to budge on that. I thought about that. I'm not going to budge on having guests on the show until we have at least 1,000. So word of mouth is really, really important. And I have some incredible guests lined up. Trust me. Trust me. When I did commercial radio, what I was known for was having some of the best guests on the show. And everybody be like, how the hell did he get him on the show? How did he do that? I worked my tail off, man. And people over a period of time was like, yo, that's the show I want to be on. All right. So keep that in mind. Hit the like button, subscribe to the station if you have not done so. My name is Frank Red. It is a pleasure, as I said, to talk to you in conversation on the In the Dungeon show. And let's go out and chop it up with some folks. My man Keys, what's up? Keys says, what's up, Frank? Seems like a lot of playoff teams in the West have gotten better, except us. Seems like as it stands, we are fighting for the play-in tournament, which sucks. With Bradley Beal makes sense for the Warriors. I heard he will get bought out. I would have liked Cam Whitmore on the Warriors. He was cheap. Got a lot to talk about. I love it. I hear the Kings are very interested in Kuminga, but what do they have to offer? All right, I'm gonna stop there. You talked about a lot. Here's the deal. I don't think the Warriors are handling the Kuminga situation very well. A couple of reasons for that. They have a lot of leverage. They do. There's only several teams and practically no teams at this point that have any money. All right? So they are in a real strong negotiating position. However, this process is not going to play out well, in my opinion, because they're hurt feelings, right? They don't want to pay Kuminga what he wants. And I believe they don't want to pay him because they don't trust him. You pay him $150 million, it's a wrap. All of these head games that sometimes get played in professional sports, those head games are gone. Because Joe Lacob is like, wait a minute. I'm paying somebody $150 million to play 15 minutes a game because he doesn't, quote, fit with these guys? No. So people are hesitant to sign him. The Warriors really don't want to trade him for fear of not getting something back in return that's valuable. Why? Because people will get fired. That's why. Joe Lacob happens to be one of those owners who actually knows basketball, who's actually very involved. And he'll put his lieutenants out there to take the blame if it doesn't go well, because that's what owners do. When you're a billionaire, you don't have to eat that. But if it doesn't work out well, guess what? You're going to start firing people because you're not going to be made to be a laughing stock. From Sacramento's perspective, listen, the trade is Keegan Murray for Jonathan Kuminga. That's the trade. They're both on rookie contracts. If you don't think Jonathan Kuminga is on the same level as Keegan Murray, then stop playing. Stop picking the phone up. The Warriors are not going to take Malik Monk. They're not going to do it. No, he doesn't fit in their system. From an IQ perspective related to basketball, he might be a brain surgeon, I don't know. He doesn't fit on the Warriors. There's also the caveat of Dame Lillard being out there, right? So Dame Lillard is going to come relatively cheap to somebody. If Dame wants to play for a winner, the Warriors would be one of the teams that he considers. Is he a perfect fit? No. But you know what? It doesn't matter if he's a perfect fit. Is he willing to modify how he plays basketball at this point for the opportunity to matter in June? We have already seen Stephen Curry make sacrifices in his prime. When Kevin Durant came to the Warriors, Stephen Curry was the first one with his hand up saying, listen, whatever I need to do, I will do it. You had fans and pundits talking crap about Steph, wondering whether or not he was legitimate. And then in 2022, when he had to recapture that starting role, what did he do? He led the Warriors to a title, seemingly by himself in some of those games. Stop playing. If you want to win a championship, you have all the money in the world. It's really about sacrifice. That's what it's about. All right? Now, Al Horford. Why is it taking so long? It's taking long, I believe. I have no intel. I have zero intel. I'm not Mark Spears. Zero. But I have excellent logic skills. All right? I have excellent critical thinking skills. Here's the problem. I guarantee you the Warriors have said, listen, this is what we can pay, right? And Al Horford is saying, wait a minute, okay, so I made this last year. You want me to be as productive as I was last year, and you want me to make half the amount of money? I don't think so. I'm not doing that. Now, could playing for the Warriors or another team potentially, let's focus on the Warriors. Could playing for less still, in the long run, help him reach the goal that he might want to aspire to accomplish? He is in Silicon Valley in Northern California. Could the Warriors turn Al Horford onto some opportunities that maybe he doesn't have access to now? Absolutely. Absolutely. If I am Al Horford, this is the team that I want to play for. So maybe there's some loose ends that they need to tie up. But I think the other big issue is I think the networks are calling. Al Horford is a future Hall of Famer, two-time NCAA champion, NBA champion, 18-year veteran, well-spoken, handsome guy, ambassador of the NBA. particularly NBC, they want smart people on air. You know, when you start looking around and you go, well, who do I want to hire to represent my network? It's not as easy as you think. It's actually quite difficult to get people who can represent your organization, your channel, your station in the best possible manner when you have billion-dollar corporations buying ad time on your station. Al Horford, I think, is a future star if he wants to go in that direction. So at 38, 39 years old, if you can make 5 million, 8 million talking to a television prompter with like a 2 or 3 year deal, when you know you got to go to practice every day, he's not going to practice a lot with the Warriors if he plays for the Warriors. And I think that he wouldn't start more than, say, 40 to 50 games, you know, and help the Warriors still be a very, very effective team. So he has a lot of irons in the fire. And I just hope that he gives the Warriors one more shot, because I think that he has so many opportunities to take advantage of. One of the things that, you know, we don't like, or some people don't like it, some people do, is that they don't put unattractive people on television. They just don't. I mean, you know, does it really matter to me? No, I don't care. But they don't do that. They don't put, they're looking for people who build a relationship with the listeners. And I think those are some of the things that Al Horford is probably juggling with. Hopefully he wants to play basketball. He's going to play for the Warriors. But he has a lot of opportunities. Keys, you also said would Bradley Beal make sense for the Warriors? He would be perfect for the Warriors. He would get an opportunity to rebuild his reputation that has suffered quite a bit. Everybody, I know people that know him. I think they feel he's a great guy. All right, I've heard a lot of good things about Brad Beal. He was in a bad situation, maybe lost a little motivation. I don't think anybody gets worse playing with Stephen Curry. Maybe the best professional teammate of all time. So I would love to see Brad Beal in a Warrior uniform. The more I see of Cam Whitmore, the more I realize that no, he wasn't a good fit for the Warriors, because I mean, he wasn't going to work with Steve Kerr. Jonathan Kuminga has struggled with Steve Kerr. You think Cam Whitmore would work? No. Cam Whitmore is a very talented player who's probably going to go to Washington and have some success. But 3-4 passes, back cuts before we shoot, no, that's not what he's doing. Which is why he only lasted 1 year at Villanova. I think it's short-sighted. I think his approach is short-sighted. I really do. But no, Cam Whitmore would not be a good fit for the Warriors. I hear the Kings are very interested in Kuminga. They could offer Keegan Murray. I think Steve Kerr would drool over Keegan Murray. I like Keegan Murray, but he's kind of a flatliner to me. He's kind of a flatliner. He doesn't strike me as a guy who's going to go into the locker room and own it. Now, you might say he doesn't have to do that with the Warriors. He doesn't. He just has to play. I think he's extremely coachable, very talented. You know, I think he can shoot north of 40% from three in the right situation. He's not overly quick, but I think he tries. I think he's a good, solid player, and I think he probably would do better in a Warrior uniform. Jonathan Kuminga, I think, is a highlight reel. I think that he could go to Sacramento, and I don't want to use any analogy about chains and black people. I don't want to do that. I think Jonathan Kuminga could go to Sacramento and be unleashed in an environment where he could just play, make mistakes, and get better, and possibly become an all-star type player. Because I think Jonathan Kuminga wants to be good. Some of these players don't want to be good. because they don't want to put the work in. Have you seen Jonathan Kuminga's workout tapes? That dude works his tail off. He does. So I would have, if I just wanted to change, what do Sac have to lose? They're not going anywhere with Keegan Murray. That's done. That's a wrap. You know, do something exciting. Get a player with unbelievable talent. I would do it. And if I'm the Warriors and I don't want to pay Jonathan Kuminga, I would do it too. Or pay him and keep him and keep it moving. I'm tired of this. This is ridiculous. Key says, once I become famous, I would love to be on your show, Frank. Keys, you don't have to be famous to come on my show. We good. Let me know in the DMs if you want to come on, and it's done. You have established yourself as a person of great intelligence and integrity. That's all I need, brother. So if you want to come on the show, hit me up, and I'll make that happen. SGA, if I let Keys on, then I'll let you on as well. All right, separately. But you have to work your way back. But Keys, you can get on the show if you want to. No problem. I'd love to have you. Young West, people are already saying LJ Cryer is too short. But if he can score like a Ben Gordon or an Isaiah Thomas, I think any team can use scorers like that despite the height. I disagree. I like LJ Cryer. I liked him at Baylor. I liked him at Houston. He's a tough dude. But I think he needs to shoot. Man, this dude needs to shoot north of 40% from three. I don't think he does that. He's tenacious. He's not a two guard. He's not a point guard. He's not. That doesn't mean he can't play in the league. You know, a person who can score, not just with shooting, because you're not going to always shoot well, unless you're Steve Kerr, who shot 50+% from three several times. I think LJ Cryer is going to have a tough time making it. I think he will get a shot because I expect him to put big numbers up in the G League. But I think the Kill Richard has a better chance of making it than LJ Cryer. I'd love for him to prove me wrong. And Andrew the GOAT, the contrarian. Mike Dunleavy is the worst general manager in pro sports. I hadn't even read it, but I knew what you were going to say. Tell me more, please. I get it. He's no Bob Myers. Bob Myers walks in the room. He's like, well, who's looking at me? I'm Bob Myers, you know? Even when he wasn't all that. Even before he did anything, Bob Myers had a certain swag about him. A certain aroma, and you need that stuff. Mike Dunleavy Jr. doesn't walk around with that. He doesn't. He's kind of reactionary. He had a decent year last year, but if this Kuminga thing goes wrong, it's going to fall on him. It's going to fall on him. Another day of no trades. Warriors front office is a joke, man. Now, again, I'm going to ask you to slow down. And I'm going to say that because myself included, I wasn't belligerent or anything, but look at Pittsburgh. 2 months ago, people were saying, what are the Pittsburgh Steelers doing? They don't have a quarterback. They're waiting on Aaron Rodgers. He's on another summit meeting with a monk or somebody. What are they going to do? And ultimately, Aaron Rodgers signed, and they have a quarterback. I'm going to talk about the Steelers also. The Warriors are in communication with Al Horford. We know that. If Al Horford signs with the Warriors, to me, they've had a B offseason. I'll give him a B. The the more that I sit with their draft position, the more I look at Will Richard. We haven't seen Tui play yet over here, but the kid Richard is a winner, man. He is a winner, and it wouldn't surprise me if he gets an opportunity to play in the big club. I think he'll start off in the G, or maybe play the first 10 games with the Warriors and then move to the G. But I think he might have an opportunity. If the Warriors have surmised that Maxime Reynard is essentially Quentin Post, I have to live with their decision. I may or may not agree with it. But if that was their rationale for not drafting him, okay, let's let it work out. All right? Let them do their jobs. Al Horford is the big ticket item this summer because they want him. He fits perfectly, but they only have X amount of dollars to give them. So I don't want them to shift and just be reactionary and go out and get somebody else that ultimately is not going to be a good fit for them. So I think they actually are not killing themselves right now. I also think that Trayce Jackson-Davis, although nobody's talking about him, if I'm Trayce Jackson-Davis, I'm pissed off. I'm mad. And I can't wait for training camp to happen. I can't wait till the coach puts me in the game, and I'm going to go out there and show everybody that I'm worthy of a contract in excess of $10+ million a year. I think Trayce Jackson-Davis might have a decent year. But you guys know what I always say about him. He will never be a successful NBA player unless he shoots at least 70+% from the free throw line. It's shameful for him to shoot less than 70% from the free throw line. That's ridiculous. He should be in the gym shooting 500 free throws a day. Mike Dunleavy is trash. SGA, what's up, Fred? How you doing, brother? The Warriors front office, literally the worst front, no trades, no big signings. This front office acts like we don't want to win. Yeah, you're not supplying any answers, though, all right? Give me some answers. I guess the New York Liberty don't care about getting swept by the Seattle Storm in the regular season because that's literally what's about to happen. The Liberty are playing without John Quell. All right, John Quell's coming back. She's surely missed, and Seattle's legit, dude. Seattle has one of the best coaches in the league. Nicole, I don't know her last name. Excellent coach. I think they have the best front line in the W. They got Gabby Williams. They got Diggins. Seattle might win it all. Seattle's no joke. So put some respect on their name. My New York Liberty, judge them when they are at full go. They're not at full go right now. And they lost. Why is Perk on TV then? Mark, elaborate a little bit more. I got some thoughts on Perk, but give me, I talk about intelligence. I don't want to draw any conclusions, so give me more to your statement, and I will respond to it. All right, thank you. Andrew, hi Frank, sorry, but express you got to emotions on how I feel about the Warriors. Okay, haven't done anything yet in free agency. I'm not happy with it. Yeah, but you got a long way before the season starts. Chill. I know it's agonizing. I'm a Knicks fan. I'll talk about my Knicks. But again, the Warriors don't have a lot of needs. They need Al Horford. They need another guard. Think about this also. They might sign, I don't know how, but I would like to think if Dame Lillard wants to be on the Warriors, they can make that happen. He's not going to play for peanuts, but I don't think the Warriors are in a bad situation. Are there more talented teams? Yes. You're right. Are there more talented teams than the Warriors who have 4 championship rings in 10 years? No. Young West, Are you surprised that the Warriors haven't made any moves this offseason? I am surprised, but again, when I inject logic into my thought process, I know that there's something going on between the Warriors and Al Horford, because Boston don't want him, otherwise they would have signed him. The Warriors are the perfect fit for him, right? But I think money matters, and I think he is one of the best undiscovered talents out there for media. I just think he is. I mean, think about how people have railed against ESPN in their coverage of the NBA. It's not great. It hasn't been great. It's not even really eloquent. I mean, like, one of the things that I don't like for broadcasters, and this is something that I think some young broadcasters and content creators, a lot of them are black, have to wrestle with, is when you're talking to an audience, I don't care if it's online, I don't care if it's on television or whatever, when you start to lean towards aggressiveness, like this might get ugly, this might get uncomfortable, that's not good for the listeners. It's not. If you can't debate, if you can't build a thesis without getting excited, without, subliminally sending a message that this could maybe get to the next level, you're losing. You are absolutely losing. And there are several personalities out there, you know who they are, that kind of lean in that way. If somebody questions them, if somebody talks about them, they get real aggressive. That's not television. That's not television. You can talk about even like a Stephen A. Smith and say, well, he's loud and he's this and that. Yeah, but Stephen A. is one of the best debaters in the industry. He is. He's one of the best thesis builders in the industry. Are all the facts always right? No, they're not. But can he debate? Yes, he can. He can debate. Key says, thank you, Frank, for the invite. I'm honored. Which team in the West will take down OKC next year? I really like what the Rockets, Nuggets, and Clippers have done. All those teams are in the mix. I'm going to say Dallas. And why? Because I played against J-Kidd. I've been around J-Kidd a little bit. I mean, I think J-Kidd reaching out and getting the guy who gave him an opportunity with the Lakers, Frank Vogel, I think that's going to be key. This is all going on the premise that Kyrie comes back. I think Cooper Flag is going to be better than we think he is. In his current role, I think he's going to be better. Name another rookie. Name another player that is a better two-way, third or fourth option than Cooper Flag in the league right now. I will wait. People are drooling over Amen Thompson. Hopefully I didn't confuse the twins. But the Thompson twin on Houston, people love him for good reason. He is maybe his generation Dennis Rodman, potentially. Well, who do you think is a better player, Thompson or Cooper Flag? Who's a better offensive player, him or Cooper Flag? Cooper Flag is going to be all defense in a very short period at the start of his career. Cooper Flag will be all defense in a relatively short period of time compared to when he entered the league. How's that? That's a little better. And offensively, it's not even a contest. So I get NBA owners wanted to get out of the league because of how the league is structured at this point. It kind of takes the fun out of it. But if you wanted parity, you have that now. You don't have a team that's going to win 2-3 titles in a row. That's not going to happen. I actually like that. But parity? Oh, man. I think Anthony Davis is going to be pissed off. Now, can he stay healthy? We don't know. But I like Dallas, man. I think Dallas is setting themselves up to be really, really good. SGA, Powell. I don't know what that means. Nicole Powell went to Stanford, played in the W for a while. Really good player. It'll be interesting to see what she's doing now. I don't know. Good player. Glenn Docious. What's up, brother? People are overreacting about the Warriors. They were a Steph injury away from the Western Conference Finals. Season didn't start. The season doesn't start until November. Patient is a virtue. Yeah, but you're sensible in your thinking, and I agree with you. But if we don't see Al Horford's name on the dotted line, I think even you would rewrite that statement. Everything hinges on Al Horford. Is he the next coming of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? No, he's not. But even at 38, 39, 38, he can play 25 good minutes per game. He can get you 6 to 8 rebounds. You know, he's a better player than Looney. He can still space the floor and shoot threes, which means that Draymond's going to play somewhere between 25 and 30 minutes a game, which means that Trayce Jackson-Davis is going to have to fight just to get 10, 12 minutes a game, which means that Quentin Post knows if he doesn't play with some aggressiveness, his ass is going to be on the bench, and he needs to make shots. So Al Horford is a vital player because he creates a level of competition on the team among the bigs that they don't have right now. Mark Graves, you said good-looking people on TV. I'm just trying to be funny. Yeah, you know what? Perk is an outlier. I don't think Perk would say that. You know, I mean, I'm sure his wife thinks he's really handsome. I'm sure there are other people, but I mean, you're being funny. I'm being funny too. Perk, fortunately for him, doesn't have to carry that burden of, you know, being a real handsome guy on TV. You know, he has opinions that are sometimes outlandish, but I don't think we ever doubt whether or not those are his opinions. That's why he's on television. It will be interesting to see how long he can last. You know, that's what I look for. How long can he last? Because a guy who I played against quite a bit in college, Tim Legler. Tim Legler has been employed at ESPN for probably 17, 18 years. He's had a slow, methodical build. When you are draking it 0 to 100 real quick, it's hard to last. But when you take that methodical route to the top of the mountain, I like that trajectory. I like that. So we'll see what happens with Perk. You know, we'll see. But he does not fit the profile of what I think most TV executives think of as being, you know, their idea of what a handsome person looks like. Although I'm sure his wife loves him. Keys, how do you feel about Mike Brown to your Knicks? You know, it's funny, Keys, because I wrote that down and something I'm going to talk about. He's not the guy who I wanted to be the coach. I wanted Mark Jackson to be the coach. All right? Now, why? I'm a little biased. I know Mark. I played with Mark. I played against Mark. I think he deserves another chance. He's a New Yorker. But I'm biased. Now, and that's kind of why I wore this t-shirt, because I wanted to, number one, publicly apologize to Mike Brown, and then take a step back and say, if you are the owner or the general manager of the Knicks and you are building a list of candidates Mike Brown is a pretty darn good candidate to be a head coach of an NBA team. You look at his record, the guy has been coach of the year multiple times. He resurrected the Kings program, took him to the playoffs for the first time in 16 years. I mean, you know what? I was in my feelings. I'm not in love with Mike Brown, but to say that the Knicks could have done a whole lot better at this point, I don't know if they could. And there's no reason to think that Mike Brown won't do a good job. So I'm okay with Mike Brown being a coach. But I will say this. If you're going to hire Mike Brown, why would you fire Tibbs? You couldn't give Thibodeau one more year? So I think that the Knicks were able to, save the dam, so to speak. All right? The dam was running wild, water going everywhere, and I don't really want to talk about that because of what's going on in our society right now. But I think that's an ample analogy, and I'm going to leave it at there. But I think Mike Brown's a solid hire. I'm going to say that. Aussie Rules. How you doing? Hi, Frank. Does limited interest in Kuminga say other teams not super high on his fit or abilities? No. It means that they don't have the money to sign him. They don't have the money. And if they propose a trade to the Warriors have to say yes. Like if the New Orleans Saints, if the New Orleans Pelicans want Kuminga, right? And they say, Golden State, we want Kuminga. Number one, you got to match salaries, which is not hard. But suppose the Warriors say, yeah, we want Zion Williamson. Click. Herb Jones. New Orleans would do that. I believe they would do that. The Warriors, not so fast. Because Joe Lacob knows basketball. So I don't think it has as much to do with Kuminga not having strong interest. A lot of teams don't have the money, or if when you execute a trade, you got to feel that you're getting equal value back. I think that's kind of a problem. Now, the Warriors potentially might get back into a hole because if he's not signed, and it doesn't look like he's going to be signed, maybe the restricted contract, you'll have to take that and play the year out, then he's gone by the trade deadline. This is more about business, I think, than anything else, which is unfortunate because it also dovetails into a lack of trust. They don't trust Jonathan Kuminga. They don't. I don't believe they do. The next team to sign Dame is going to have to pay him for 0 games the first year. You would think, but I don't know. I mean, I don't think even when you're being paid, you still want to try to get as much as you can. Now, I think that the DeAndre Ayton Lakers relationship, that union seemingly is working and it's seemingly fair. He got a lot of money from Portland. We know that the Lakers are not paying him a whole lot of money. Whatever the difference that makes up his salary of $34 million, I think that's what the Lakers are probably paying him. That's fair. But if Dame is making in excess of $43 million, that's stretched over a 5-year period, I still think he wants to make probably $20 million a year. That's how people who have a lot of money think. He's not going to play for a little bit of money. He's not going to do it. I don't think so. Cools, what's up? Why are so many people in this chat so impatient. The regular season does not start for months. Don't judge the front office until the tip-off of the next season begins. That's a fair statement, as long as your target is still out there. But if your target goes away, oh, it's a problem. It's a serious problem. So as long as Al Horford is on the periphery, you know, as long as they don't fumble the bag with Kuminga, we good. But if you get rid of Kuminga for, you know, a bucket of nickels, no. Aussie Rules, thoughts on Mike Wilborn? He seems to play the race card a lot, especially about WNBA in his channel. Expound a little more. I don't want to take what you're saying and what he said out of context. So include some more details. I'd love to respond to it. Frank is the OG. Does that mean I'm old? I don't think so. Is Pods a starter next year? If so, the Warriors in trouble. I don't want to see him starting. I mean, I do not want to see him starting. I don't. Would it be the worst thing in the world? No. Would it indicate that the Warriors are progressing? No. But this, again, the way that the business model is structured in the NBA at this point, it sucks. It severely limits teams. You think the Warriors don't want to sign DeAnthony Milton? I don't know if they have the money to pay him. Or maybe he wants the biggest check. I don't know. But he made, what, 10, 12 million with the Warriors last year? Basically without the whole season. They don't want to pay him more than $5 million. I don't think they should pay him more than $5 million. But the vet minimum, no, I don't think he should play for that either. He didn't try to get hurt. I think, you know what, Pods, man, that dude got a halo. He has a halo on because I'm happy he's on the Warriors and maybe he'll get extended. But think about the number of teams that Pods could not play for. Think about getting drafted by one of the best teams in the NBA and then taking advantage of the opportunity. Give him some credit. But when you hear him talk, I mean, he has a real high outlook on his abilities without actually living up to that. I think he is an emerging player who's had the benefit of a coach that loves him. You know, he's got more rope than anybody I've ever seen in my life. And I hope he takes advantage of it. But I would love to see DeAnthony Milton starting over him or somebody else. SGA viewers, make sure to click the like button, smash that subscriber button, and ring that notification bell for the In the Dungeon show. Thanks to SGA, my marketing team. I appreciate you, dude. All right. Gives me an opportunity to kind of talk about a few things I wanted to mention. Chris Paul must really love basketball. Most people in Chris Paul's position at this point, Chris Paul's probably made $300 million. A lot of money. But he still wants to play basketball. I salute him for that. He don't want to play for peanuts. Fortunately, I think the Milwaukee Bucks is a place where seems to be a good fit for him to go in and be a starter. He started like all 82 games last year. So it's not, I don't care how old he is, he can still play. Can he and Doc Rivers get together? I think they probably can, you know, and rekindle that relationship. But salute to Chris Paul, man. People in the Bay Area, Warrior fans, talked about him like he was trash. And he wasn't. He never was. Never. Never. Frank, can I come on the show? Can I come on the show tomorrow? I don't know what you mean. I'll come on with you. I don't know about tomorrow, but I will come on with you. TG says CP3 is a gamer. He is, man. That dude, I mean, some people don't like him. That's okay too. But what a career. I mean, to me, CP3 is like John Stockton. Would a championship have elevated John Stockton's career a little more? Yeah, it would have. Does it diminish his greatness that he never won a championship? Absolutely not. No, it does not. Talk about getting maximum out of your ability. If Chris Paul never played another game in the NBA, he is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's not only a first ballot Hall of Famer, he's revered as one of the best point guards in the history of basketball because he got everything out of his ability. I respect that guy a lot as a basketball player. Don't know him as a person. Key says, add Horford, Beal, and Milton, and our young guys learn from their playoff experience, and the Warriors can be a 50-win team. No one wants to play. Oh my God, I would love that. That would take us back to that Miami Heat championship team several years ago. Let them all get championships. That'd be awesome. I want to talk about the WNBA for a second. I want to talk kind of from a business perspective because you had Sophie Cunningham, the popular player of the Indiana Fever. I love her style. I mean, I like the fact that she's like, yo, let's do this. You know, I'm not afraid. I love players who are not afraid. But I thought that Sophie Cunningham's statement about Detroit and Cleveland was unintelligent, honest, but misguided and flat out wrong. She also talked about expanding too fast, which you can have a decent conversation about that. But I got an opportunity to watch on YouTube yesterday what is essentially our Olympic team of the future. The young ladies who are playing in college. And we are stacked. The number of talented young basketball players who are not in the W is amazing. There's so many good players in college basketball, and Juju's obviously not even on the team. Women's basketball is only going to get better because the talent pool is there. I watched a competitive game between USA against Canada. Canada's team is really good. Half of those players will probably be in the W at some point. We're not talking about the girls in Africa and Europe. Yo, women's basketball, that's the lick right now because the talent is there. So they have the ability to expand. There's also, check this nugget out. When nobody wanted to be associated with the WNBA, anybody who had a bag could have bought a team. If you knew how to run a business, you had a decent arena, it wasn't even about the cities, you could have a team. Now, all of a sudden, all of the expansion teams just happen to be affiliated with NBA teams. Did you notice that? Did that go over your head? You think somebody in Nashville right now can raise their hand and say, you know what? We want a WNBA team. Sophie Cunningham actually mentioned Nashville, which is a great market, I think, for women's basketball. But you know why? But you know why that won't happen now? Because the NBA and their owners recognize that the WNBA is a viable financial opportunity. So they're shutting everybody out. They're shutting it down right now. Women's basketball, I love it. You better recognize those ladies are going nowhere. Frank, I love all your content. You create some of those banger contents on YouTube, and I hope you keep doing a great job because I love this. Okay. Thank you, brother. Keith says, smash that like button and subscribe, everyone. Show some love to Frank Red. Yeah. We love you, Frank Red. Yeah. Okay. I'm a big fan of the Golden State Valkyries, and some of my favorite players on the Valkyries are Caitlin Chen. Yeah, I know. She's not only good, but she's attractive. Kayla Thornton. Tammy Fogbele. She's also good. Janelle Salon is a future All-Star, in my opinion. Carla Lighty. Yeah, man. I mean, I know all those players. I like all of them. Veronica, point guard of Northwestern, she's legit. Now, I'm going to say this. Coach Nakase, I call her Coach K, I didn't like how they handled the Van Loo situation. I thought that was not good and not representative of the Warriors organization. And I think the Valkyries are clearly under the umbrella of the Warriors. Now, Van Loo ultimately got hired right away by the Sparks, and that's good. And this is a business, and I understand it. But you think they didn't have an idea that they might cut her when she got on that 18-hour flight? You think that there was kind of an inclination that, you know what? Caitlin Chen is playing well. We still like Lighty. Veronica's here. We got too many point guards. You know what I'm saying? So they could have handled that better. And I think they fumbled the bag. And then they have, the Kasi kind of give us that bleeding heart effect on how it's like losing one of your children. No, it's not, because you would have kept your child. All right? You would not have cut your child. You would have kept your kid. So let's just do better. That's all. Let's just do better. I didn't like that. Are you all excited about the Summer League? I love NBA Summer League. I mean, I do, man. And, man, I've spent so much money this summer. Crazy. I don't fly coach anymore. I don't fly coach. And I wish I could fly coach. I think Alaska Airlines has pretty good seating regardless of where you are, but I cannot fly coach anymore. So it limits the amount of trips that I can take. I would love to travel more, but for anybody who has flown first class or flies first class, you know the difference. It's like night and day. After a 5-hour flight today, I didn't get off the plane and have to recover from my back for 2 or 3 days. I didn't have to do that. If I flew coach, it would have been a serious problem. But first class is not cheap. It costs a lot of money. So I had serious aspirations of going to Vegas this week to cover the NBA Summer League. It definitely would have helped the show. But I got a big trip to take in September. That's going to cost me maybe about $3,000, $4,000. So I don't think I can afford it. It bothers me because I want to go so badly. I love NBA Summer League. Love it. But I just can't afford it. Who are some of the rookies you're interested in seeing? I thought Edgecombe, is it EJ Edgecombe? The kid going to Philly, the rookie, had 28 points for Philly yesterday. He played really well. And I also thought that Ace Bailey, in spite of his poorish stats, I thought he represented himself pretty well. The one-legged fall away from 8 feet. I practice all those shots. No, dude. You need to establish yourself first. He has to get all of that garbage out of his game. And that's what it is now. And when garbage, what does that mean? Garbage means low percentage shots. That's all it means. You should be shooting high percentage shots. Because then you can offensive rebound. If you're falling away from 8 foot with one leg in the air, like Kevin Durant or Dirk Nowitzki, you're a made man at that point. Establish yourself. But Ace Bailey, tremendous talent, tremendous ability. I want to see him. Want to see Harper. I want to see all the rookies. I want to see who's going to surprise us. That's the cool thing. I remember when Jeremy Lin lit the world on fire. Where did it start? It started at NBA Summer League. Jeremy Lin was not drafted. And what did he do? Jeremy Lin cooked John Wall. Cooked him. The number 1 pick. Jeremy Lin was running by him, laying him up like he was somebody at the D3 level. And because of that, he got a look. Wind up playing 9 years in the NBA. I think the hate for Jeremy Lin was worse than Caitlin Clark. And, nobody really talks about it. When you talk about hate. When he set the world on fire as a New York Knicks fan, I was happy. But half of the Knicks were not happy. They were not. And they hated on him. Oh, man, what is this? What's all this now? The guy scored 38 points. Made several game-winning shots. And his own teammates were reluctant to give it up to him. I didn't like that at all. I didn't like it. Keith says, who are the best siblings to play in the NBA? I'll automatically think of Dominique and Gerald Wilkins. I'd take Steph and Steph over those guys at this point. It might ultimately be LeBron and Bronny. Think about this. That's one of the things I want to talk about. That's a great question and a great topic because there's so many. Collectively, maybe it's the Berry boys, multiple brothers. But let me say this about Bronny. I think you guys would say this. The reason why I am such a strong advocate. Now, Bronny's an outlier because his father's LeBron. He doesn't need money. He's just different. Everything about that kid, his life experience is different than most kids his age. But the reason why I wanted Bronny to stay in college is because I think his trajectory would be where it is now. Now, maybe he really liked the experience of being a pro his first year, going down to the G and coming back up, because you see the work now. You see the work. Bronny looks like a guy who would be drafted between 15 and 30 in the first round right now. That's how he looks to me right now. He does not look like a number 50th draft pick. That kid has put some work in. And there's no reason why he can't be a legitimate fourth guard in the NBA this year. Because he's a good defender. He's becoming more and more capable of making the corner three. He's explosive. Give that young man a lot of credit. Give him a lot of credit. And for the people who doubted him, give them some credit also for keeping it real. Because think about this. What do you think would have happened if the Lakers, and J.J. Redick never would have done this, he has too much integrity, but think about if the Lakers had force-fed Bronny James to NBA teams last year. It would have been horrific. And they didn't do it. So give the Lakers some credit. But you look at him now, he looks like a legit NBA prospect. A young man who I would have no problems drafting from 20 to 30 in the first round. Worked on his shot. He's more instinctive. He's going to the hold. I'm very proud of that young man. Give him credit. And great question. Keys, TG says Powell and Mark Gasol. That might be the best. Great call, TG. Great call. Yeah, that's a question that you got to think on, right? Because there've been a lot of siblings, maybe not a lot, but there've been enough siblings to play in the NBA. I'm going to move Powell Gasol and Mark Gasol at the top of the list right now. Both of those guys, I think, got a shot at being in the Hall of Fame. I think Mark Gasol has a chance. He won a title. They both won titles. They both starred internationally for their country's Olympic teams. They both medaled. I think Powell and Mark Gasol is probably going to win. I want to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I am unapologetically a Mike Tomlin fan. Why? Because it's hard for black people to get hired in the NFL. Profoundly hard. There are many people who shared Jimmy the Greek's perspective on the intelligence level, the leadership skills of people of color. And it's flat out wrong. And we can even open this up to other people of color. But Mike Tomlin is unquestionably one of the best coaches in the history of the NFL. And you see how they kind of like hated on Mike Tomlin? This guy hasn't had a losing season in 17 years. And you know what his naysayers say? Well, so what? You haven't lost a game. You still lost in the first round. What? Who else has done that? Has he won a Super Bowl? Yes. Has he gone to multiple Super Bowls? Yes. I mean, the underlying hate is amazing. Now, let's keep it about football. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers is going to either finish first or second in their division. I love what the Steelers did this offseason. Omar Khan, their general manager, oh, by the way, he's got a 3-year extension. Why? Because that dude hit some home runs. Look at what they've done. Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith, DK Metcalf, Kenneth Gainwell. They drafted Derek Harmon, a defensive tackle out of Oregon in the first round. He's going to be a big hit. And we would like to think that TJ Watt's going to come back. Now, football is different than any other sport. It is so unforgiving. My basketball coach told me, the great Tom Penders, Hall of Famer, told me, he says, you know what, Frank? You can play hurt, but you can't play injured. That stuck with me forever. You can play hurt, but you can't play injured. Right? TJ Watt gets injured a lot. Is he trying to get injured? No. When he's at top form, is he one of the best in the league? Yes. Is he Myles Garrett? No. He's not Myles Garrett. Now, I haven't heard him come out and say, you know what, I want to be paid what Myles Garrett's paid. I haven't heard him say that. But if you're the Steelers and he wants crazy money like the top DNs in the league should get, then you got to really have a conversation about that. I don't know what they're offering him. I have no idea. I know that he has 1 year left on his contract for $28 million. $28 million? Who walks away from $28 million? So I want him to come back. I mean, a guy like that should not play for another uniform. And I have to think that it was a pretty tough, gut-wrenching decision to get rid of Minkah Fitzpatrick, in spite of, you know, whether or not his skills are diminishing. I don't know. But I like Minkah Fitzpatrick in a Steelers uniform. I think he's a Steeler guy. Very Rod Woodson-esque, not Rod Woodson, but very Rod Woodson-esque. And yet, the Steelers did what they felt they needed to do and make a tough decision, and they traded him. And they got Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey is still a very, very good player, an excellent all-pro caliber player. And let me say this about Jonnu Smith. When I grew up learning the game of football, right, the Washington team was my favorite team. Growing up in New York, everybody liked the Dallas Cowboys. My first favorite team was the Washington Ball Club, led by Joe Gibbs. And then I like the Giants as well. I'm a Parcells guy, but I like Joe Gibbs. Why? Because Washington employed the two tight end offense, like the 49ers are trying to do this year. Pittsburgh is going to run a lot of two tight end set with Faramouth and Jonnu Smith and DK going deep to open up that middle. They're going to be outstanding. Aaron Rodgers, I still think, can play. They got Gainwell from Philly, who's a scat back. Yo, man, Pittsburgh is going to be good. And, you know, for those who don't think that they are, I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't judge Aaron Rodgers' age. I judge his production. Dude had 26 touchdowns last year and like 8 picks. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be very solid next year. I think that defense is going to be ferocious. And watch out for Pittsburgh. From the 49ers perspective, I like where they are. I like the fact that there was little to no drama this year. I'm tired of hearing about how unhappy Brandon Ayuk is. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear it. Dude, get healthy. You know, tell me that you're unhappy because one of your checks didn't clear. All right? Tell me that. You got the contract that many people on the periphery in the media, fans, thought you didn't deserve. You got your money. You went out and you got hurt. That's not your fault. But let's work towards getting healthy and going out and showing the organization who made a commitment to you that you deserve the money. And you are appreciative of the support you got from the fans. You're playing for one of the best franchises in the history of the NFL. I'm tired of hearing Brandon Ayuk is not happy. No, man. I don't want to hear it. And maybe it's not true. Maybe it's a media-driven Probably not. There's probably some give and take there. Key says, Steelers haven't had a quarterback in 5 years, and Mike Tomlin's still getting to the playoffs in a tough division. What more are people expecting from the man? I agree with you. Can we please have an intelligent conversation about why Mike Tomlin isn't a great coach? Can we please? As good as McVay is, I mean, people anoint him with oil, with genius oil. You know, he's dripping with genius oil, but Mike Tomlin's not. Why is that? Why? That narrative, man. Whomever has the mic, whoever has the pen, gets the narrative out there. They're all great coaches. But Mike Tomlin does not get his just due, in my opinion. Does not. Sean Payton's won 1 Super Bowl. Another brilliant football guy. Brilliant. 1 Super Bowl. Just one. Just once. Can we find a way? No. There is no way McVay could have a success in Pittsburgh that Tomlin has had. We know that. Yes, you're right. We know that. But I didn't want to dump on McVay because I think he's a great coach. But it isn't him. It's the content creators. It's the writers. I mean, you know, you would think that he is Bill Parcells. He ain't Bill Parcells. He's not Bill Parcells. Bill Parcells won everywhere. Everywhere. Will the NBA expand? And would I like to see it? Absolutely. Yeah. I want to see the NBA expand to definitely Seattle first. I guess they got to do Vegas. I get it. And I would like to see them go to Nashville. In spite of, I mean, I think OKC's success does a lot to position Nashville towards being an NBA city. The politics, because we got to really separate sometimes the politics, you know, of that particular area versus whether or not they could support an NBA team in exemplary fashion. I think Nashville could. I think Nashville is a great sports market in terms of running a business and putting a product out there for their fans. So Nashville, Seattle, and Las Vegas are the places where I think it could really work. I also believe that when you have special cases like Stephen Curry, LeBron James, I guess you can include Kevin Durant, and maybe I'm missing somebody else. I don't know. But I think when you have players who carry a league and lift it to new heights over a 15-year period, I think that the league should give them every opportunity to be a part of an ownership group. I believe that. I believe that wholeheartedly. I don't think that just because you got money and you come from the outside, oh, I got money, give me a team. No. Give something back to the players. Give them an opportunity beyond their playing days. And why do I feel this way? Because I recently listened to an interview with Candace Parker, who was the Cheryl Miller of her generation. I mean, I love Sue Bird. Love her. Fellow Long Island kid. We're both from Long Island. Love Sue Bird. One of my favorite point guards. Diana Taurasi. Love them all. They haven't done more for women's basketball than Candace Parker. Have not. And yet, Sue Bird's an owner of the Seattle Storm. She's one of the owners. Why can't Candace Parker? They should be falling over themselves trying to get her on an ownership, in an ownership capacity, if that's what she wants to do. We got to think beyond playing. Stephen Curry deserves that to me. Now, you might say, well, Red, maybe he'll be a partial owner of the Warriors. Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. I don't know. But if a guy like that wants to be a part of building the NBA for future generations, I'm on board with that. I'm on board with that. You know, and I think it's arrogant. I think it's smug to think that that's not a valid point, and to think that it's really about you coming in with money, because it's a cash cow. The work's already been done. The work's been done. All of the naysayers, in spite of how the structure is in the NBA right now, it's still a damn good business to be in. Still. Why? Because the players are there. It's about the players. And running a successful business. Give the owners credit. You need money. You need foresight. I don't think anybody's done it better than Joe Lacob over the past decade. Nobody. What he has done with the Valkyries, from a business perspective, are you kidding me? Crushing it. You think LeBron can't run a business? LeBron James is one of the most successful athletes from a business perspective in history. His vision, his ability to pinpoint opportunities and actualize those and monetize those opportunities, phenomenal. I want to talk about that. All right. I also want to talk about a movie. And 2 or 3 weeks ago, someone in the chat asked me about a movie that I had not seen. And this movie that I'm going to review is actually not in the theaters. I watched it on Netflix. And if you don't have Netflix, maybe you'll get it. If you've seen this movie, you know what I'm talking about. I watched the movie Straw at my mom's crib. Tyler Perry wrote the movie, directed the movie, and he produced it. It stars Taraji P. Henson, who gave an Oscar-worthy performance, Teyana Taylor, singer, actress, choreographer, and she happens to be the ex-wife of Amon Shepard. But let's put some respect on her name first. She was doing all those things before she met and married Amon Shepard. Sherry Shepard, who has a daily talk show, she's in it. And Glenn Turman, who was in A Different World, and also he was in The Wire also. All of these individuals gave breathtaking performances in their particular role. So what is Straw about? Straw is about a single mom raising her kid alone, and she encounters the day from hell. Everything that could go wrong goes wrong on this particular day. I'm not going to give you too much. Her daughter has some serious health challenges that her mom has to help her work through. There's nothing more important than your child. I don't care your job. No. This is her daughter. She's trying to care for her daughter alone. And every challenge that you can think of that someone in a desperate situation might have, she encounters in this movie. The movie damn near brings you to tears. Straw. It happens to be on Netflix. But if it was in the movie theaters, it would be a phenomenal hit. It's just a woman's journey and how things in life can overcome you. Even when you have the best intentions, you can be overwhelmed. That's what this movie's about. I highly recommend it. Teyana Taylor, oh, she's a beast. She is an absolute beast. And I don't want to give you too much, but she's awesome. I'm going to say this, that I've always respected Tyler Perry, but when I think of Tyler Perry, I think of Madea movies, and that's not something that I want to see or I want to spend money on. And as a result, I've missed some of the other movies that he's put out because he doesn't always do Madea movies, and I probably missed some excellent screening opportunities. But after watching this movie, Straw, I'm a fan of Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry is as much of a creative genius as anybody out there. And I salute that guy. Straw is a hit. And I would encourage you to watch it. If you have Netflix, if you don't have Netflix, then maybe, you want to go over your cousin's house, go over your aunt's house, or your mama, or whomever. It's worth your time. And after you see it, then maybe we can talk about it. Key says, who was better in your opinion, Steve Nash or John Stockton? I'm going to go with Stockton. Why? Because Stockton was nasty. I don't think that you get nasty guy from Steve Nash. I met Steve Nash several times. There's nothing nasty about Steve Nash. Steve Nash is a really, really nice guy. A real nice guy. John Stockton will cut your tongue out and feed it to your dog. If it came down to him winning or losing, that's what he would do. I got to go with that guy. He is Isaiah Thomas of the Detroit Pistons fame. That's who John Stockton is. Dogged in his thoughts about life, his ideology about basketball, his commitment to excellence. There is no middle ground with John Stockton. He's one of those guys. He's like Chris Paul. If he won a championship, great. Another feather in his cap. The fact that he did not win a championship does nothing to diminish his illustrious career. So I got to go with John Stockton. Keys, Nash was good. Stockton was one of the GOATs. I agree with you. TJ, I also saw more Nash growing up. Yeah, Stockton was incredible. All right, man. You guys let me know. Let me know. I mean, we have Keys and whomever else. I want you all to know that I read all your comments. I read every last one of them. And don't think that you write a comment and I never see it and I don't respond to it. It actually helps me because I think through your comments. I want to encourage anybody and everybody who wants to leave a comment about the show, please do it. And don't be surprised if I have the time if I don't respond to it, because I will. But I read them all. So thank you for writing comments. I love to read them, good, bad. You have some things that you think that I can do to improve the show, then do that as well, because we want to continue to grow and get better. All right, I want to get better. With that said, this show felt really full. I was entertained by it. I appreciate you understanding my journey en route to me starting the show a little later tonight. But I really appreciate your participation. Some incredible questions and comments. Also, what I said, Keys, about coming on the show, that's a deal. That's a done deal, man. Just reach out and we can make that happen. TG, is the show always 9 p.m. Sunday nights? Yes, always, every week, 9 p.m. Sunday nights. But the cool thing about the internet, people listen, watch the show when it's conducive to them to do it. So that's wonderful. But if you want the live version, interaction version of the show, it's Sunday nights at 9 p.m. If you're listening for the first time, again, the best way to show appreciation, if you like the show, you like what I'm doing, you like the callers, you like the listeners, hit the like button and subscribe to the show. Because I'm not going to have a guest until I have 1,000. We can do it. I think we can do it. All right. I'm going to do my thing and get out of here. Success and getting paid is a manifestation of the whole process. If you're the individual, don't do things to help other people make their lives better. As far as I'm concerned, you haven't done nothing. Maybe I'll jump in midweek on my show or another show. If not, I'll see you next Sunday night. Until then, peace. I'm out.